Hey y'all, I just wanted to come on and set this video up for you. This is a webinar that I do every weekend on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. And in the webinar, I talk about, it's a career chat. I talk about positioning yourself in this current pandemic. And I just go through tips on your resume and your LinkedIn profile, how you can transfer your current skills into a new job or a new industry. I also give some tips and tricks on just kind of maneuvering through corporate America. And then there's a Q&A session where I have found a lot of value in some of the questions and responses from the community that's on the webinar. So I just didn't want to put this up and not give you some inkling as to what this is about. So this is a webinar that I did, I don't know if it was last Saturday or a couple of Saturdays ago. And as the title states, this is about the best resume tips for 2020. I'll come back at the end and just kind of wrap it up for you. So enjoy.
Want to talk about positioning your resume. Think about us recruiters as gatekeepers. We're the ones that receive your resume first. When you apply through a database, through a system, it's called an applicant tracking system, it goes straight to a recruiter. I know a lot of times people think when they're creating their resume, they're putting their picture on it, they're putting all these colors on it, they're doing a lot of fancy things to it for the hiring manager. But it actually comes to us first. Think of us as the ones that's holding it up, either blocking it from the hiring manager or passing it along. So with that being said, as recruiters, we have somewhere upwards of, right now I have 25 positions. So if you think of each position with 100 plus candidates in each position, how long do you think we're going to look at a resume? It's going to be 2 minutes or less. And it's going to be the first top half of that resume. We're looking for specific things, and we'll get into that in a minute. So when you start to create your resume, there's 4 key components of your resume. And your contact information, which is self-explanatory. You want to have your name, of course, your number, your email. But I've seen a lot of resumes come through without a LinkedIn URL attached to the resume. Why is that important? Number one, is another way that we can contact you. You want every means possible for a recruiter to get in contact with you. Another reason, selfishly for recruiters, is we have a tool that we receive from each company that we go to. It's called LinkedIn Recruiter. This is a license that we receive that companies pay about $10,000 for. So if you think about it, if a company is going to pay $10,000 for me to have this tool, they're going to want to know that I'm using the tool. So to show that I use the tool, I have to have some type of usage. So I'm going to, whenever I click, there's a click rate that's reported to my boss and their boss's boss, the people that are paying for this tool that we have. So I'm going to take the resume that comes to me for a position, and it has that LinkedIn URL. I'm going to click on that because I know it's going to get tracked. I'm going to do that first. So if you're trying to set yourself apart, and remember, as we go through this, this is what you're thinking about. If you're trying to set yourself apart, that little URL can mean the difference between your resume and somebody else. Because as a recruiter, I want to click on that to show that I'm using my tool. Not only that, when I click, more than likely I'm going to send you what is called an in-mail on LinkedIn, just to introduce myself, to tell you about positions we have open, because another thing that's reported is the in-mails that we receive. Not only that we send out, but that we get back. All of this is being tracked. When I take your resume, when I click on your profile, I put it in what's called a project. It's really a talent pool. It's like a bucket of resumes for a particular position. And we get measured on the amount of resumes in there. So all of these, I can go on and on about the measurement tactics, but I think you're getting what I'm saying. So if I have to choose as a recruiter, remember, I'm the gatekeeper. I'm the one, when your resume gets sent, I have to decide who I'm going to send. So if I'm already communicating with you, I've clicked on it, you meet the requirements, you're going to go to the hiring manager. I'm not saying that others do not, but in this time when you're competing with 22 million people, what is it going to hurt to put your URL on there? Okay, got me? Good? Okay, let's move on. Professional profile. That's that section right below your contact information that typically would say objective or summary. You don't want to say those words anymore. Those are antiquated. What we want to put now is either professional profile, you can say business profile, you can say executive profile. But in this day and age where every company is digitized or has a technical component to it, everyone has a profile. You have one on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere you look where there's a platform of people, millions of people, you have a profile. So you want to show that you're up with the times and that you know what to have, what type of keywords that a system is going to look for on your resume. So that's the first thing. Now, what goes in that section, you want to have it be short, concise, and informative. So typically, you'd say, so I would say technical recruiter with 20 plus years experience working in various verticals. Short, concise, and informative. Who am I? I'm a recruiter. What kind of recruiter? Technical recruiter. How much experience? 20 plus years. Where have you worked? Various verticals or various industries. Short, concise, and informative. I don't need a whole spiel. Remember, a recruiter only looks at your resume 2 minutes or less. So let's take another one. What about a janitor? A janitor would say, experienced janitor with 10 years of experience working in corporate office buildings. Short, concise, and informative. I know you're a janitor. I know you have 10 years experience and you worked in corporate office buildings. Now, if I was a property manager, and I needed someone to clean my buildings. And janitor is pretty general. I mean, a janitor is a janitor, just like a recruiter is a recruiter. We can recruit in pretty much in any industry. But if I'm a property manager looking for a janitor to clean my office building, am I going to choose a general janitor who's cleaned maybe schools or gymnasiums or something like that? Or am I going to select the one that actually has worked in corporate office buildings? So there's an opportunity right in that first quarter of your resume to spell it out. You know there's only so many minutes that a recruiter, it's another opportunity for them to get a quick glance at what you do in a short sentence. Okay? So now let's go on to experience. This is the bulk of your resume. And this is where you list all of your expertise. When you think about your resume, think of it as an opportunity to brand yourself, to tell your story, to showcase, to brag on yourself. This is what you want to do in that section of experience. Now, in terms of formatting, I would get a lot of questions about, should I show my picture? All you want to do is just keep it bulleted. You just want it neat and easy for us to read. Okay, so not a lot of, sentences and paragraphs and all of that, but just bulleted in terms of format. But what goes in there in terms of detail? So you want to highlight your accomplishments or your projects, and you want to showcase where you've been able to save the company time or money. In terms of highlights and accomplishments or projects that you've worked on, something that you're proud of, before you start working on your resume, get a piece of paper and go back through where you're working now, your current position, and think about some of the projects that you've worked on. Even if you were a part of a team and it was successful, you want to put that there. You want to highlight there. If let's say I received recognized for President's Award for streamlining TA process. That's an accomplishment. And I would put in bold, recognized for President's Award. That would be bold type. Bold font right there, because it's going to pop out. It's going to stand out in a resume. Okay? And then you also want to highlight where you've been able to save the company or your team time or money. Now, in today's society, you've seen on the news how they use numbers for everything. How many tests have been done? And as it relates to COVID, how many people have passed away, how many tests, how many hospitals have been run, how many doctors on this, how many, it's a number. Any organization you work in, they're going to be data driven. So your resume should be as well. You want to put either percentages in there, time, or any numbers. If you saved 6 months off of a typically 18-month project, put that number in there. If you save 20% time by streamlining a process, put that in there. If you save the company $100,000 by cutting out corporate travel, put that in there. This is what a hiring manager would be looking for. They want to know how you're going to help their team, how you're going to help them out in their on their team, in front of their boss, in front of their leadership team. So you want to put that information in there. And then lastly, as it relates to education, pretty self-explanatory. Put your degrees, your certification, skill sets. If you are currently taking a course, let's say you're getting Microsoft certified and you haven't completed it yet. In parentheses, you can put candidate, or you're going for your MBA. In parentheses, put candidate. The job description may say MBA required, but if you're currently going for your MBA and you know you'll be graduating soon, go ahead and put that in parentheses. Some hiring managers will still want to speak with you, because by the time you go through interviews, go through background check and drug screen, if it's required, you may have completed that course. And I had a question last week about the date. You don't necessarily have to put the date there. They were worried about being discriminated against because of their age. I have a video on my YouTube channel talking about discrimination, but you don't necessarily have to put a date on there. So I've been talking a lot. I'm gonna pause. See if there's any questions about anything that I've shared so far. Any questions, anything?
I have a question.
Yes.
You stated for projects in highlighting those things. I actually work for New York City Transit Authority, so it's our train system within New York City, and they're not as productivity based, so they don't necessarily give us individual projects. They give us like tasks that they need us to complete. It's like the same system every single day. So I don't necessarily have any highlights or experience to say I saved the company this amount of money in this amount of time. So how can I still be able to produce my experience and still highlight the things that I do without having to emphasize on producing those numbers, because we don't have a specific number or a specific productivity goal that matches with any numbers that they provide us with.
Sure. So if you haven't worked on any projects per se or in a team environment, you can think about as an individual contributor, you yourself, if there's something that you've done individually to save yourself time, if you maybe, I don't know what your responsibilities are, but if there's something in your position where you've saved yourself time or money or cost savings of some sort, you can highlight that as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be for the company overall or for your team or a team project. But if you as an individual, let's say, I don't know, I'll take myself for example. I know that when I go and pull a resume from the ATS system, me as an individual, I don't like to do a lot of clicks. So what I've done is I cut that out by going to LinkedIn and just printing out the profile. So I would put something like saved 10% of my time by direct sourcing from LinkedIn. And what's going to happen is a hiring manager is going to ask you what that means. So you should be able to speak to that, because anything on your resume is fair game. So think about, and it may not come right away, you may need some time to think about, okay, I know it's taken me an hour to get from here to here, but if I recently did this and it saved me 15 minutes, it could be something like that. But they just want to know how you think, and by you putting that down, and they know that you think about data and the importance of data. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other
I have a question.
Sure.
How do you make an online application stand out? Like when you go to a company's or organization's website and have you do the online application, how would you make that stand out?
When you submit your application, just like so it'd be all of us submitting at the same time. It's going to come to me as a recruiter. And when I pull it up in our system, in that database, they have some ATSs, applicant tracking system, they have like little stars. So a lot of times when you complete your resume, you'll be pre-screening questions, and they'll say, do you have 5 years of experience of XYZ? Have you worked on a project using Java? And if you hit yes or 3+ years, it's gonna pop you up to the top. It's gonna put you up to the top. So me as a recruiter, I'm gonna see, okay, Stacy met all the qualifications, and some systems will have a star by it because this particular candidate has met all of the required qualifications. Each system has some type of notification or keywords. Everything now is algorithms and optimization and all of that. So if you click through and like, yeah, I got, I have 5 years experience, but no, I never worked with Java, but yeah, I've worked in a team environment. It's gonna say 2 out of 3, and you're gonna be below the ones that met all the requirements. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it comes to us already filtered and prepared. There'll be a star, a check mark. Sometimes there's a yield sign. I know for some of the databases that I've used in the past. So it's all about answering those pre-screening questions and ensuring that you can speak to it. If a recruiter asks you, well, you clicked that you know all of these requirements. So you'll have to share, where you've used it, where you've done it, things like that.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Kelly, excuse me, one question though. I've seen a lot of applications, online applications, where they don't necessarily have screening questions, but that doesn't mean that they're not doing some kind of screening in the background, does it? I mean,
not at all.
Okay, so they've got some criteria there that will give them, a rating or pop up, yours to the top if you've got what they're looking for or not, correct?
Correct. What happens is if you don't see screening questions, you better believe as a recruiter, because if I get 150 resumes, there's no way I can go through all of them. I'm going to filter. I'm going to filter for the ones that have, so if you're looking for a recruiter, I want them to have 10 years experience, technical, and I don't know, Java. So when I put in the keywords Java, 10+ years, technical, the system's going to filter and all those people are going to pop up. The rest will be down here, but those 10 people will pop up to me. So as a recruiter, I know I can't look through 150. So I'm going to filter those keywords. So another takeaway from this is when you're looking at that job description, look at those words specifically under the requirements, because we as recruiters, we've talked to the hiring manager and we know what they require. Go through those requirements and plug those somewhere in your resume so you know when it goes into that database when you apply, when we filter, it's gonna pop up. I know it's a lot to remember, but just make sure your resume matches the job that you applied for. It's okay to have 3 or 4 resumes. It's okay. Only you know that, right? So keywords are very key, very key. And even through your LinkedIn profile, we'll touch on that also. Did that answer your question, Roger?
Sure did, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, we will move along here and talk about LinkedIn.
I'm not going to talk long because I know the video was long enough, but I just wanted to thank you for joining. And if you want to jump on one of those webinars, click the link below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, because I am posting as much as I can just to help everybody out. So I'll see you in the next video.